Mercedes made a huge decision, and we're going to be going through that in today's video. But before we get into it, make sure you like this video, and don't forget, if you want more Mercedes F1 content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hitting that red button down below. But let's get straight into today's story. So Hamilton downplay F1 rumors that Ricciardo is coming for his Mercedes seat. Seven-time Formula 1 champion Lewis Hamilton has battled away speculation that Mercedes is planning ahead for the seven-time world champion retirement. Rumors that Monza, site of this weekend's F1 Italian Grand Prix, are strongly linking McLaren's soon-to-be free agent Daniel Ricciardo, who seems unable to secure a race seat for 2023 with the reserve role at Mercedes for 2023. Now, I honestly think this is completely true, because obviously when it comes to Lewis Hamilton, yes, he is getting older, and yes, he's getting near that age of retirement, but I do think Lewis Hamilton wants to, keep going until he's able to win his 8th Constructors and Drivers Championship. He's really going for that 8th, and I think, he's not showing any signs of slowing down anytime soon. So, Ricciardo, no comment. Ricciardo grinned ahead of the Italian Grand Prix. Just kidding. The truth is, I'm keeping every option open, not only for next year, but for the future. So yeah, there's obviously many talks or thoughts about next year and beyond that. So right now it is still just, very exciting rumors, but I think it would be great to have someone like Daniel Ricciardo. It would be sad to see him replace someone like Lewis Hamilton, but it is what it is if it does happen to go that way. Now, when asked about Ricciardo's recent talk about willing to accept a reserve driver role, Hamilton said the 33-year-old McLaren driver is far too talented to have effectively sit out next season. But of course, if he's part of our team, that would be great, Hamilton added. Where Hamilton did draw the line, however, was when faced with rumors that Mercedes boss Toto Wolff could picture Ricciardo as a perfect teammate for George Russell in 2024. For years, we've been going around up and down with stories of retirement for me, but I love what I'm doing and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. So Hamilton is 37, as he has said, so he is getting up there in age, but you have seen pro drivers, even still to this day, drive until they're 40. So I think Lewis Hamilton still has a lot left in the tank, and even though this season hasn't gone well when it comes to him winning another drivers championship, he's still doing very, very well when it comes to someone of his age and also the car that he was given. So he can still perform at the highest level. I think next year, if they come with a better car and a greater efficiency when it comes to the team and all that, I really do see them continuing to do well and Lewis Hamilton still performing at the peak of his ability. Sorry buddy, he told Ricciardo, I feel I can race for quite a bit longer. And I think it would be great to have Lewis Hamilton for as long as possible and continue to do that as time goes on. Now, on top of all this, Mercedes rules out high-risk, high-reward F1 qualifying drag tactics. Hamilton will have to start from the back of the grid in Monza after his Mercedes team chose to switch to its 4th engine of the season. While F1 rules that's his final position against fellow back-of-the-grid starters Carlos Sainz, Yuki Tsunoda and Valtteri Bottas will depend on his qualifying time against them. It's not essential for him to finish every 10th on the grid to maximize circuit. Would be if he were without a grid drop. It means Mercedes could at some point choose to sacrifice his running to give Russell a decent drag in qualifying, which could be crucial in getting him closer to first place. But while Russell could win a few tenths of Hamilton's help, he thinks the risk of teams getting their drag strategy wrong will likely choose to not to. I mean, if you get it done, it definitely works, said Russell, who finished 5th in FP1. But there's really high risk, high reward, so it's not something we put a lot of emphasis on. Qualifying sessions are when we learn more about the car and the tires, and that's obviously something we've struggled with this year. So for now, I think we'll both just go into and do a regular session. Hamilton also believed that being the first on the track would be enough to help Russell achieve the desired win. Lewis Hamilton W13, and obviously this weekend it will be George return to choose whether he comes in first and second. So most likely he will choose to go after me, he said, so I just do my normal program and he gets asleep. Both Russell and Hamilton felt the Mercedes was not at its best around Monza as the team's pace dropped during the 2 practice sessions. It was a bit of an odd day. FP1 looked pretty strong, but then Ferrari and Red Bull seemed to have taken a step forward compared to us. Or maybe we took a step back because when we clearly were behind McLaren in FP2. So there's some work to be done tonight to understand that. Hamilton, who finished 7th in the afternoon, added, we went much slower or they went much faster. I give everything there is and it just doesn't feel particularly fast. So obviously this is pretty saddening to see, especially if you are a Mercedes fan. There are a lot of problems and it's hard to really pinpoint one certain thing. I do get this comment a lot in my comments on, what Mercedes can do better, but when you look at it from a bigger picture, guys, it really isn't just only one thing. There's multiple things that are playing into it. So one of the main factors holding Mercedes back was that energy deployment characteristics are not ideal for Monza's long straights, as power runs out too early on the straights. Russell thought that could be crucial to give Ferrari an edge in their battle for position. We're missing a bit of commitment, he explained. We're similar to Red Bull, but Ferrari seems to have the upper hand in terms of commitment, so that might make it more difficult in race scenario, because they've had little more in the cupboard to play with. It's something we're dealing with to make. So I think this is really important to actually understand and what was going on. So speaking of that, Hamilton also had other stuff to say when it comes to what actually happened in FP2. Lewis Hamilton admitted, like I mentioned, that his Mercedes doesn't feel particularly quick after a low-key first day of practice for the Silver Arrows at Monza. Hamilton ended the opening day practice 7th fastest in FP2, almost a second off the pace set by Ferrari's Carlos Sainz and Red Bull's Max Verstappen. It came after a competitive first practice session for Mercedes when Hamilton teammate George Russell were both within half a second of top spot in 4th and 3rd respectively. Asked to reflect on his day and the difference between Mercedes FP1 and FP2 showings, Hamilton said, "We just made some setup changes. It was nothing major, but we went a lot slower somehow, or went a lot quicker. I'm giving everything out there, it just doesn't feel particularly quick." FP2 was not much better for Russell, who lapped just over a 10th quicker than his teammate en route to 5th position. Having struggled with ERS deployment issues around the Temple of Speed, it was a bit of a strange day. FP1 was looking strong, but then Ferrari and Red Bull had seemingly taken a step forward compared to us, actually said Russell. Maybe we've taken a step back, as we were obviously behind McLaren in FP2, which was Lando Norris at the time, so a bit of work would need to be done tonight in order to understand. As for development issues, reference over the radio, Russell added, "I think we're similar to Red Bull, but Ferrari seem to have the upper hand, and it may seem things get tricky in a race scenario as they've gone a bit more in the locker to play with. It's something we're going to have to deal with." And I think that's great to see from George Russell and also Lewis Hamilton, how they're really adapting to what is actually being given out to them. Obviously there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but they are looking to make the most out of it, which I think is fantastic. So unique Monza resurfacing could impact Italian Grand Prix weekend, Russell said. The track has been resurfaced at the 3 chicanes between turns 1 and 2 and 4 and 5, and also 8 and 10. Unusually, the work doesn't cover the full width of the track, meaning that in some places, drivers can potentially go off the racing line and run on a different type of surface. Speaking on Thursday at Monza, Russell described the resurfacing work as very unique. They've actually only resurfaced the racing line, so they've not resurfaced the whole circuit, Russell said. At a certain point, they've not resurfaced it fully from left to right. Actually, it's about probably 4 meters wide, so I don't really know what it's going to do for racing. If there's 2 different types of tarmac, one that you're on the racing line and you're outside or inside of that, there's less or more grip. So we'll have to wait and see how that pans out, and definitely I'll probably be trying to wide line to just get an idea. But generally speaking, on smoother circuits, it doesn't help our case, because when you've got this really rough open tarmac and a lot of energy goes through the tires, a lot of work is being put in them. If anything, it will probably work against us. Asked why Mercedes seemed to be performing better in races than in qualifying, Russell actually had acknowledged that tire management and track surfaces play a key role. That's a very, very big question, he said, and that's what I think something after 15 races we're still trying to comprehend as well. I think there's no doubt that we're very good at the tire temperature management, and that probably plays against us in qualifying. Those midfield cars, which potentially induce more temperature into the tires naturally, can afford to go slower on their outlaps, damage the tires less, and they may even have better performance for a single lap. Where you see with us pretty consistently, our outlaps have to be as fast in qualifying to get the temperature. That's when they're damaging the surface of the tire, and that's probably why we're on the back foot in qualifying. but it's just a theory. We don't have a lot of merit to back it up and argue just yet. So, like I said, I do love the optimism from George Russell and for him to continue to fight and try to do better as time goes on. We exist to fight for victory, says Wolff, as Mercedes target securing first win of the series. Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff has expressed further optimism that the Silver Arrows can get a race win under their belt before the 2022 season concludes. Having some close to victory lap last time out in Netherlands, the W13 displaying the strong pace at the tight and twisty Zandvoort circuit, Lewis Hamilton and George Russell were both in contention on race day, keeping Max Verstappen and Red Bull honest on an alternative tire strategy. However, after jumping Verstappen during a late safety car period, while the majority of the field pitted for fresh tires, Hamilton lost out at the restart and toppled upon an order of P4 behind the Dutchman teammate George Russell and also Charles Leclerc. Although his meant missing out on potential first win of the campaign, Wolff and Mercedes took plenty of encouragement from the Dutch Grand Prix, showing a hope one of the remaining 7 races will yield the ultimate prize. We didn't have the fastest car across the Dutch Grand Prix, but the team did a fantastic job putting us in the mix to win the race, and we need to ensure that we're in the position on a more regular basis, said Wolff, speaking ahead of the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. We took some risk in Zandvoort, and not all of them were. We exist to fight for victories and will never shy away from making bold decisions. We scored good points in our chase for P2 in the championship, and it was fun to be back in the fight. Through everyone's hard work, we're edging closer to that first win of the season. Wolff doubts Mercedes will be as competitive as the weekend's Italian Grand Prix, given the high-speed demands of the Autodromo Nazionale Monza, but sees no reason why his drivers cannot add to their podium tallies. While Zandvoort suited our car, Monza is likely to be more of a challenging weekend, owing to the circuit characteristics. We all know how it's like, a lot of straights, and that's where you really see Red Bull and Ferrari actually flourish. Mercedes, on the other hand, tend to really flourish with twists and turns, so it is going to be interesting to see how this actually all plays out. I am very excited to actually see this race, guys. I think the Monza Grand Prix is going to be something exciting. So there's a lot of huge decisions that have been made, and there's a lot of big things that are coming for Mercedes as time goes on. So thank you so much for watching today's video, guys. Hope you did enjoy. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Peace.